Hi, this is On Imagination with the Healing Garden, and welcome to Shifting Perspectives / The Philosopher's Garden. Still trying to figure out the title. So this is something I really want to talk about is neurodivergence. Now, I'm going to be very blunt. I have no fucking idea what this word means. I really don't. Because every time I hear it, I go, oh, look, another fucking label from the government. Oh, yay. And I disregard it. I don't give a fuck what people want to call themselves or what people need to call themselves. That's your business. All I know is there are way too many fucking labels out there that literally 4F people to deem them insufficient for the government. And so they throw you away. And there is a plethora of labels out there, from ADHD to autism, on the spectrum, neurodivergent, whatever bullshit they have come up with to tell themselves, oh, this person is not capable of following the rules. True story. True story. That's really what this comes down to. There are people who can't follow the rules. Now, there are people who don't even try. And then there are people who try, and no matter how fucking hard you try, you're just not good enough. So, and I wrote this out. I really wish I had a whiteboard. I really wish there was a way I could whiteboard on my thing, because I would totally whiteboard the fuck out of this. I'm going to say this a lot until I figure this out. But here's what I see. This is precisely how I see it. I'm going to pretend that I have an editor, and I'm just going to doodle with my finger, and then they will fill in all this shit later. I'm going to pretend. So this is what I see in my brain. Let me think. Well, yeah, I did this the other day. There are two kinds of games. There is the landlord game, the Monopoly game, the rat race game. And then there is the 4F bench. And then there is the other game that I play called Survivor. And that's the next game. Now, there's another game after that called Prosperity. If you know anything about gaming history, you know that Prosperity is the other game that you could play if you had a Monopoly board. Monopoly came with two games. There's the landlord game, and then there's Prosperity. For some reason, the company felt that Prosperity would not sell, so they decided to make it the landlord game. There's a lot of information here, and I found the rules to Prosperity, and my God, I love it. Oh my God, my brain is like, this is awesome. So yeah, there's a lot of philosophy and psychology in those two editions. The game was written by a woman who was trying to teach economics, and there's two sides to economics. There is the system we have now, which is the Monopoly landlord game, which is literally until everything appreciates so much in value that money itself becomes valueless. True story, which is what's happening. And then the other side is Prosperity, which runs off of, there are no words for this. Let me try and invent them. One moment. An interdependent open network of resources that allows a person to barter and trade so they can nurture, flourish, and prosper from poverty to abundance. There, that's the definition. This ecosystem of finance, oh, I love being an interdisciplinarian. I see it. Economics and a balanced ecosystem. This is why we need to study multiple things, people. Right here it is. An ecosystem. And all right, my neurodivergence, are you listening to me, my gorgeous people? I'm talking to you. an ecosystem, and I know you can keep up with me, an ecosystem and economics. Oh, do I see things? God, I love these perspective shifts. Here's when I'm not even on weed right now. All right, so here's how this works. The problem with all of our primary ecosystems, economics prior to this point is, well, it's a monopoly. It's very much a closed network. Oh God, you need the psychology. Oh my God, do I see this? Oh, my brain is on fire. This makes so much sense. All right, I got to go over and do my labs. Quick, to the lab. Okay, just a minute, because I got to think about this. All right, I've got to get to the lab. Dun, 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 dun. All right, so this is going to be economics and the ecosystem with the psychology of emotional transactions. All right, so here's what's happened. First, I'm going to get this video and I'm going to drop it into my little so excited. All right, so my neurodivergent people, are you listening to me, my beautiful pinkies? All right, here we going. All right, here we go. This is how it's going to work. All right. Economics, ecosystem, psychology of emotional transaction. Once you get these three gorgeous concepts all together, what ends up happening is basically you can invent an entire economic system based off of something almost identical to an ecosystem. Now, an ecosystem works exactly like this. You basically have, oh, I have to access biology for this, which I can do. You basically have a balance of oxygen with hydrogen, with nutrients, sunlight. This is your greenhouse. This is a terrarium. This is all the information you need in a working ecosystem to ensure balance. Now, once you understand how ecosystems work, you can virtually create an ecosystem for, well, anything. You can create an ecosystem for, holy fucking shit, you can create an ecosystem for a relationship. In fact, that's what I do. That is exactly what I do with Erosology. It is an ecosystem for the self. And then once you master the self, this is wisdom, love, you bring in a single individual and you create an ecosystem between the two individuals. Once you have that mastered and stabled, well, you upgrade. Then you bring in a network. This is where you get a community. This is your they of I. And you bring that person in and you expand. Now, when it's just yourself, now it's a closed network. It's not even a network. It's just the individual point of the self. When you bring in a partner, now you have a closed network. You're going to have a limited amount of resources because two people only have a certain amount of resources. You require an open network. In order to have the open network, you must connect the two people with a community. But in order for that to happen, you have to master this. In order for that to happen, you have to master this. Do you understand why relationships fail? Because no one is mastering this. So you have to master the self in order to plug in a pair. That way you can master a closed network. That way you can bring in a far larger network. That way you can plug in and have an open network. Their goal is to create an ecosystem within the emotional transaction of what's going on between the self, the partner, and the community. That way you have a constant balance of resources being traded and exchanged to nurture, flourish, and then prosper. Boom, now you have abundance. But that's not what we do because people don't study interdisciplines. But neurodivergence can. In fact, my beautiful people, neurodivergents have to. That's why you have a surplus of energy. There's nothing wrong with you. The government loves to 4F you because you're not compatible. That's all it means. It means you are not compatible with their system. So you have to expand your mind. You belong in a different dimension, but you've been forced to shrink and put into a different dimension. Oh, you are my people. It's all coming together now, and I see it finally. You are my people. You are my people. I love fucking neurodivergence. So neurodivergence is your ADHD, your Asperger's, your autism. Every time I hear anyone talking about these, and then it's followed up with, oh, they're so slow. Oh, fuck that, they're slow. They're not slow. It's they're not dumb enough to follow the system. That's what it means. It means you're not stupid enough to follow the system. That's what neurodivergent means. You have ADHD, it means you're not stupid enough to follow the system. Congratulations, you have authority. You're too smart to be stupid. That's what neurodivergent means. You are not people. Now, I didn't have a problem with this. I knew this. So I like, fuck you and your system. I never even tried to fit into the system. The only problem you suffer, thank you, Brandy. The only problem you suffer is trying to conform. The only problem you have is you try to conform. Stop doing it. Now, this is my space where I literally give neurodivergents everything they need to literally go from A to B, because this is the problem. The system is not designed for you. They don't want you. They want stupid people because they are a slave system that's literally designed to destroy itself. They can have themselves. They're fine. So this is what I have in mind. Interdisciplinarian, interdisciplines is the mastery of multiple subjects. Now, the only subject in the entire world that does this is philosophy. Philosophy is the mastery of all the disciplines, the mastery of all of them. I currently, how many do I have? It's easier to tell you what I haven't mastered. I have not mastered economics, physics, chemistry, math, and that includes geology. Basically all of the sciences. I literally have all of the arts. I'm good. I am a published author. Oh my God, am I? My mastery, my 7 solids are my writing, communication, linguistics, language, dance, theater, stage, learning, teaching, education, philosophy, psychology, sociology. I feel like I'm missing a lot. I am missing a lot. Oh, duh. History. History. Gardens, botany. That's how I was able to figure out the ecosystem, is because, oh my God. So where I left off in plants, I have 10 green thumbs. Yeah, I did do chemistry and cookies. Oh, I am the master of cookie baking. So I do have some chemistry. Wow. This is so, and my goal right now, I'm studying physics right now. And what is the other one? And I'm doing geometry, calculus, trigonometry, and physics. After that, I'm going to be going into chemistry again. And then after that, I'm going to be going into astronomy. And I'm definitely going into metaphysics. Now, metaphysics I've already done. Ontology is my mastery. That is my ontology is my little bitch. So I have a lot of masteries behind me, and that allows me to see things, to create what I like to call cocktails, basically disciplined cocktails. So I can pull and piece together certain things. So I'm looking at finance and monetary systems and the economy. But economists lack a comprehension of the ecosystem, which they need. People who are in the ecosystem understand the balance. They understand all the components of an ecosystem, but they lack the comprehension of finance and economics. So you have to merge the two of them with psychology to get a full comprehension of what needs to go on. So I need somebody to study and master economics, ecosystem, and psychology. Or I could just study economics and do it myself. But there you go. Right there. It's the ecosystem, the economics, and the psychology. Once you put the 3 of them together, oh my God, have you got a gorgeous cocktail. So that's really, really what you need if you want to become basically, if you want to study economics, you need to master economics, psychology, and ecosystems. You have to study, ecosystems. You have to study biology or botany. Yeah, botany. And then if you want to be a botanist, I can pull it apart. If you want to study psychology, you really need philosophy, psychology, and sociology. Every subject requires 3 masteries, at least. And then, and that's just it. You want to say, I want to be a psychologist. Okay, well, here's your 3 subjects. And this is where neurodivergents are really going to step it up, because they're going to go, oh, finally, this is fantastic. This is exactly what I need. And this is it. This is precisely it. So you've got the psychology, the economics, the ecosystem. You have so once you pull all of this together, you're going to be able to literally create an ideal monetary system where it nurtures, flourishes, and prospers in a balance precisely the way we need it. So what's going on is basically people are getting smarter, and the system is made for stupid people. It's really nice to just finally come out and say this. Bottom line is the system was made for dumb people, and neurodivergents aren't dumb people. They're fucking smart, which is why they don't, for God's sakes, this makes so much fucking sense. Like this makes so much sense. 2 of my 3 children have the 4F labels of neurodivergence. And there was a lot of mental work where they're like, what's wrong with me? There's nothing wrong with you. You're actually just not stupid enough to be in the system. That's what it means. Did you hear that, Dan? You're just not stupid enough to be in the system. You're too smart for the system. And then that's it. Bottom line is these labels. And here's the thing that really fucking pisses me off is when people think neurodivergent, they think Forrest Gump. And fucking good God, look what that man accomplished. Like, that is our dumb, that isn't, let's talk about this. Mental retardation, that's really the original word for it. It was mental retardation, which they changed the word to. And this is where psychology is fucking abusive. Retardation is actually a bastardized word. A retardant means to slow down, which is, or is it even, or is it the opposite? I think a retardant means to be resistant to, not readily susceptible to fire. Retardant, an agent that delays or hinders. And that is where, yeah, like it's gotten to the point where the word has been so derogatory that even the basic Latin word, a retardant, now has negative connotations. That's how toxic the word has become. So now we've lost complete meaning over there on it. And now there's this concept of autism, Asperger's, on the spectrum is now synonymous with the concept of Forrest Gump. And I talked to so many neurodivergents, talked to so many people, fucking genius people who are saying things like, oh, I have the learning disability. No, you fucking don't. They have a teaching disability. Believe me, I've mastered teaching. What do you think I'm doing here? I've mastered teaching. I know how to do it properly. They are dumb fucks. You're beyond that. You do not have a learning disability. My favorite Douglas Adams line. Why are they limping? Their feet is the wrong size for the shoe. That's it right there. That's what they're doing. Oh, your feet is the wrong size for the shoe? You're on the spectrum now. That's what it is. You don't have a learning disability. They have a teaching disability. My daughter comes home with her grades from school. She hands me her report card. And I go, oh, look, they've graded their teaching skills again. I say this to my daughter. Now, my daughter has like 90 average. Like she's 90s and 80s. And if she gets anything like a low 80, she freaks out. She's like, oh, and I'm like, I'm going to tell you right now. She got a 55 in gym. Okay, here you go. I'm just going to do this. She walks an hour to school. And then at the end of the day, she does 45 minutes of gym class. And then she walks an hour from home to school. So after they make her exercise, and my daughter is like really fit. After they make her exercise for an hour, she then has to walk for another hour. She's exhausted. And this is at the end of her day. And she's gotten to a point where she is so tired by the time PE comes along at the end of the period. And the teacher publicly humiliates and abuses her. He calls her names. He gaslights her. He verbally abuses her. And he calls her lazy. So she has a 55 in gym. And I've asked her, like, do you want me to go in there and raise hell? Because, oh, I will. She keeps telling me not to. And it's like something I really need to talk to her about, because I'm like, this isn't acceptable and it's causing her way too much stress. And he's just downright fucking abusive. But here's the thing that's really fucking bothering me about this is, aside from the fact that he's fucking abusive, is his idea of motivating people. And this is it. You are a good teacher when you motivate people. If the teacher can't get you excited about the subject, they fucking suck. Because the teacher has one fucking responsibility. I'm going to talk to you. There is so much fucking abuse when it comes to authority and teaching. It's fucking disgusting. Authority is a gorgeous, beautiful thing. And when you don't understand the psychology of authority, teachers and parents are the biggest offenders. Parents, 100% due to arrogance or ignorance. Teachers, I don't know what the fuck is going on with teachers, because supposedly they went to school for this shit. So I don't know what the fuck. Now, I do know what the fuck. Things that are illogical make me angry. Things that are illogical make me angry. I don't know why. I should examine this. Why does illogic make me angry? Because when I see illogic, it damages my system. Because illogic to me means danger. Now, literally, it did. I was raped if I wasn't logical. If it's not logical, it's dangerous. It's true. It's where mental illness comes from. Yeah, let's talk about this. So illogic means rape, and it means mental illness, and it means manipulate. Oh, it's a big one. There it is. I need a minute. I found it. Okay, let me just deal with this. So when something is illogical, in almost every case, psychological manipulation is very close. And yeah, I need to just step back. I found it. So let me just process. Psychological manipulation is something that I am never going to get over, because it is my trauma scar. A trauma trigger, really sink into this. This is PTSD, people. Sink into this. A trauma trigger is only a trigger if it is a normal thing, an average thing, and it's causing you hysterics. So if you, I'm going to explain a scenario that's a perfect example of this. When my former best friend was a child, she watched her father beat the fuck out of her mother. They had a black and white tiled checkered floor. Her blood splattered across the black and white flooring. To this day, when she sees a chessboard, she triggers. That is a PTSD trigger. When you associate a commonplace object with panic and hysteria, nightmares, flashbacks, panic, anxiety, I cannot tell you enough. You want to look for the panic and the anxiety. The nightmares, okay, they can come and go. The panic and the anxiety. Flashbacks is another symptom. But really, you want the panic and anxiety that is invoked by a commonplace object. Now, if you are subjected to really bad fucking shit, it's not a trigger and it's not PTSD. I really need you to process this, my beautiful neurodivergent brain, because people expose themselves to trauma, real trauma, not PTSD trigger, trauma. And they gaslight themselves and say, oh, I'm just having a triggered episode, when in fact you're being abused and assaulted. One of my persons was constantly telling me that she was having a PTSD trigger. Over and over, every day, I'm having a PTSD trigger. I'm having an episode. I'm having a trigger. I finally got her to break down what was going on, and I found out she wasn't having a trigger. She was literally being sexually harassed by her rapist every day. That is not a PTSD trigger. That was her body warning her, you are in danger. When you are being violated, harassed, made to feel uncomfortable. Yeah, that's sensitive. Made to feel uncomfortable. We're going to call it forced, non-consensual discomfort. Take these words, use them for yourself. Uncomfortable, forced, non-consensual discomfort. I'm going to give you the vocabulary you need. Forced non-consensual discomfort is traumatic. Think about it. Take it. Internalize this. This is not a PTSD trigger. It feels precisely like a PTSD trigger, but it's not. The difference is commonplace object. The other is significant, serious, current trauma. That all being said, your body might be going off regularly because you are being violated. Don't gaslight yourself. Become a student. Observe and ask questions. Now, you are neurodivergent. I know you can do this. I know you already do it. You just didn't have the direction. This is the direction. Oh my God, I fucking love you people. Oh my God. Yes, I love neurodivergence. Observe, ask questions. Because as soon as you start observing and asking questions, boom, you're good. Oh, you are fucking solid. Because you are going to start problem solving. That is literally the door that opens the door. Why the fuck didn't I start talking to you a lot sooner? Like, I feel like I'm talking to my people now. So you observe, you ask questions. You immediately can direct your mind right into problem solving. It's absolutely wonderful. So this is how it's done. But you have to become aware that PTSD is one thing, but being violated is another thing. So it's not until, and here's the thing, when you are isolated and alone, that's usually when people are PTSD triggered. Like if you are alone and you feel your anxiety rising, if you're alone and you're being triggered by commonplace objects, that's a trigger. That is a trigger. But when you are around people, there is a good chance that you're actually being violated and you're just not using your boundaries. That's all. You are allowing access to abusers. Big difference. Big difference. So this is huge. Now, that being said, I have this thing in my brain that really goes nuts whenever I'm around psychological manipulation. And I have a really loud thing in my brain that associates psychological manipulation with things that are illogical, because psychological manipulation is always illogical. In fact, almost everything that is illogical is psychological manipulation. They are almost inseparable. And because I am so fucking logical, I can sniff out psychological manipulation like you wouldn't believe. So when I'm around psychological manipulation, when I'm thinking about psychological manipulation, when I'm thinking about illogic, I get hysterical. I can feel it. Like, well, I'm ready to fight, because it's triggering. Oh, you're accessing psychological manipulation. So I'm going to be blunt. If I were to follow the logical deduction back to this, teachers are being taught on purpose to psychologically manipulate students and children to get them to be conditioned. That's what it means. I would not put it past our fucking government to literally embed this psychological warfare into the universities to teach teachers how to psychologically manipulate students without realizing it. Because, hey, you know who else does that? Doctors. You know who else does that? Pastors and preachers. Oh, do I? Do I? You go to pastor school and they teach them how to use psychology to manipulate. It's part of their actual curriculum. Yeah. I can give you a list of government processes that literally use psychological warfare and psychological manipulation, which is why psychology has been taken away from us and not allowed, because they need you ignorant. So, parents are just ignorant. Teachers, I don't trust them. Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit. Teachers are government agents because they went to a university, which is a government agent. Yeah. Yeah. Like I have a whole thing of how this whole network works, and I don't trust anyone when it comes to the government because I know what they're doing, because I studied Rome. Seriously, like, your beautiful brain is ready for this shit. Like, oh my God, ADHD is like a godsend. I actually have a physics formula that breaks down what's going on with ADHD. Basically, when you evolve from the different perspectives, you go faster. Every perspective dimension is at a different frequency. And it gets to a point where you are so far ahead in these dimensions that your frequency is vibrating at X, but everybody else is over here. So to dumb yourself down is literally equivalent to sitting behind somebody in the fast lane driving at 75 miles an hour, but you've got to go 55 because this person's in the fast lane. And you're just like, it's compressed energy from being in a different dimension. Now, I hypothesize, I am certain of it. I know it because I function over here. I don't conform. I never did. I never got in the box. My parents were like, get in the box. And I'm like, no. It never happened to me. I never got in the box. So I never suffered. I was never diagnosed with ADHD, to the point where I had to ask other ADHD people. Now, my daughter has it. My daughter has ADHD. And I'll ask her. But because I've never been conformed, mine is basically, you are a horse. And you're not supposed to be trained or broken. You are a wild stallion. Someone with ADHD is a broken stallion. You basically were caught, tamed, and broken in. And you were not supposed to be broken in. You have to be free. You have to be wild. And I resisted it, so I'm fine. I was like, I function over here. And I'm just like, I'm doing my own thing. But when I talk to somebody in the fourth perspective, oh my God, it's fucking hell for me. And that's basically where you are, is you need to be up here. But you might be suppressing yourself and holding yourself so far back that you're shaking. And you're shaking because you have the excess energy, because you're at the wrong frequency. You're living at the wrong frequency. That's all it is. That is ADHD. You are living at the wrong frequency. There. You are too smart for the society. That's what it is. You're living at the wrong frequency. Get back over there. So, I actually have a few exercises to teach people how to live at the proper frequency. Living at the proper frequency. And that's it, really. It's living at the proper frequency would be the first thing that I would talk about, and I'm definitely going to be covering this. The flip side of all of this is going to be, oh yeah, I'm totally collecting neurodivergence because they are not people. So living at the proper frequency would be the first thing. The other thing is understanding that, yeah, I'm just going to write it down here. Your feet are not the wrong size for the shoe. Yeah. And that's going to be huge. That's going to be huge. Is understanding that your feet are not the wrong size for the shoe. And that's pretty much what's been done to you, is they have 4F'd you because, oh, your feet are the wrong size for the shoe. No, they can't teach. You can learn just fine. They're fucking idiots. So you first need to live at the proper frequency. And I will be showing you how to do that. The second side of all of that is we need to get those shoes off of your feet. Basically, we need to provide you with the proper, you need to learn more. That's really what this is. You need to learn more. You are being forced to learn at a slower pace. And as a result, it's boring you and you just, oh my God, that's why you can't focus. It is because your frequency is off, because you're living at the wrong frequency. So understanding that there's nothing wrong with how you learn, it's 100% they're fucking incompetent because people do not know how to fucking teach today. Now, about teaching, we're going to talk about this because neurodivergence, this is really what it comes down to. The art of learning and teaching. Welcome to Plato's school. Before you even walk into philosophy, there are a few requirements. And the first few requirements are the 8 hierarchical, maybe 9, let's say 9, the 9 hierarchical courses. And they are music, dance, theater, stage, comedy, tragedy, painting, singing, and then there's like epic poetry, epic dance, epic metric, epic, everything is epic at this point, and there's a lot of poetry. This is really important to understand why poetry matters. But we're not going to get into that. The point is, you basically spend the first 8 years of your life just doing art. You're also learning how to read. You're learning how to write. That comes later. But you are learning how to speak. You are learning communication, stage, theater, presentation, metric. Rhythm is a big deal. Now, what this is really doing, this is where it gets awesome. This is what it's really doing. The first thing it's doing is introducing you to all of the elements that are hardwired into a human person's learning psychology. Let's talk about learning psychology. Learning psychology does not exist except in Plato's school. Learning psychology, well, to be blunt, I am the only one with this mastery. I am the only one with this knowledge. Plato had it, but philosophers don't study it. No one studies this because philosophers usually aren't artists. I am. And you have to be a psychologist to understand this. Philosophers aren't psychologists. I am. And philosophers don't see this because they are not psychologists. I am. So you have to be an artist and a philosopher and a psychologist to see this. Oh, but wait, there's more. You don't just have to be an artist. You have to know music. You have to know writing, fiction writing. It matters, not nonfiction. Oh, good God, not nonfiction, fiction. You have to know stage and theater. And there's a reason why. I'm going to explain this here in a minute. So you have stage theater, you have music, you have writing, fiction. What else am I missing? Yep, that's it. And then you have philosophy and psychology. You need those combinations. Theater and stage, music and writing. Dance is also really fucking good, but it's less so. Let's say dance and singing are kind of one, but we are looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 masteries. This is interdisciplinary. This is it right here. This is an interdisciplinary. Yeah, I hate this word. Okay, so you got 5 of them here. Only this combination will give you one solid comprehension. The comprehension is learning psychology. This is what I mean by I found lost subjects when I studied in Alexandria. And this is one of the subjects I found. Learning psychology. So here is what I learned. The human being does not learn any other way except through story. This is why we got around a campfire and told story. This is why Christ told in parables. This is why we have Aesop's fables. This is why we have fairy tales, is because human people learn through psychology. But there's more than that. Story is metric. Story is music. Story is speech. So as I speak to you precisely like this, it's all strategic. This is psychology. It's the psychology of learning, and it's the psychology of story. And it is how we learn. It is how neurodivergents learn. It is how everybody learns. It is how children learn. In addition to that, Plato also understood the significant importance of sadness, crying specifically, and he also understood the importance of laughter. This literally creates an emotional bond and a connection once you understand the economics of emotional transactions. Okay, so that's also in here. Also, let me add that. Emotional transactions. So economics is also part of this. Yeah, 100%. Because when you teach and when you learn, you are actually in an economic exchange, a financial exchange, except what you're really exchanging here is information, not currency. The currency in this case is the transaction of information, which, by the way, is what all of philosophy really is the study of information transactions. Really fucking cool, right? But because no one studies all of these subjects, no one fucking knows this shit. We lost this information back in the 4th century. This is really fucking cool. So what ends up happening is a person learns only through the emotional transaction, the emotional economics, and the exchange of crying and laughing through storytelling, which is heavy in meter and in vocal exchange and theatrics. This is how we learn. This is how we learn. But it requires a master of the stage in order to teach. You have to be an actor in order to properly teach. You have to comprehend the psychology of story. You need an individual, a hero. Yes. And that hero must have a goal. Yes. And that goal must be unachievable because there's an obstacle in the way. And the story is how the hero overcomes the obstacle to achieve his goal. And now you have conflict and story. But now you are emotionally transacting with the hero of the story. You are laughing with him and you are crying with him. Now you have your attention. So now when I say things to you like, all right, now you want to learn? Let's talk about all the different subjects. You can learn all the sciences in the world, but if you cannot transfer that information from your brain to an audience, it's moot. You can learn all the fucking physics you want, but if you can't transfer that information from your stage to an audience, it doesn't fucking matter what you know. This is where the information sits with you in your closed circuit because it's no longer a resource you can exchange. You require the knowledge of resource and emotional transactions. You don't get that information unless you study economics, specifically my psychology, learning psychology, because you have to understand emotional transactions in order for all of this to fit together. So what ends up happening, what has happened, is because no one understands how to learn and how to teach, no one's learning and no one's teaching. So the very first thing they did was they removed the hierarchical courses. They then eliminated all of the arts. The arts give us one vital thing called imagination. Imagination is problem solving and logic. Without imagination, you cannot problem solve. You cannot do it. Spock is highly illogical. True story. So as a result, you need imagination. Oh, I'm totally writing that one down because he truly is. Spock is highly illogical. Bottom line. And once you understand precisely how teaching works, how story works, what this does for you is it opens up the entire door. You require a completely different way of learning, and it's just not practiced today. So as a result, you are seeking out with your gorgeous neurodivergent brain, trying to figure out ways that you can be entertained, ways because you have to be entertained. That's the way we're supposed to learn. We are supposed to learn through entertainment. It's how the brain is wired. The problem is our society dumbs us down and makes us so stupid that there is a schism. And the schism consists of smart people now and dumb people. Neurodivergents are too smart for the system, so they kick you out. They call you neurodivergent. They 4F you. They label you, and then they throw you out. You get thrown out, and you're going, great. And then they tell you, your feet are the wrong size for this shoe. No, it's not. No, it's not. Not at all. They are fucking stupid. And you just are not dumb enough for their system. But because they don't know how to handle smart people, they throw you away. That's what they did with me. Good fucking riddance to them, I say. So once you understand that you just require a higher frequency and you understand that you need literally theatrical, entertaining education, you're fine. When you learn this way, and I've had people like, oh, all the different learning styles, it's garbage. It's moot. The reason why there are so many learning styles is because, let's go over that. You have a ladder and you have runs in your ladder. If you actually have all the runs properly done in the right order, there's no problem. But you have to learn in the right order because this is ladder learning. However, their sloppy education system is so insufficient that there are holes all over this ladder now. So now you've got students who are trying to climb a ladder with insufficient runs, and they blame you for that. Now they need categories. What kind of a learner are you? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? You wouldn't have strengths and weaknesses if they actually gave you a proper ladder. Their fucking ladder is garbage, incompetent, and broken. But instead of fixing the ladder or getting smarter because they're stupid, they're blaming you for their broken ladder, claiming that you're the one with the problem. You got the wrong feet for the shoe. No, you don't. You are not the one that's the problem. Their system is fucked up. Their educational system is garbage. There is no strength and weaknesses. When you have a strength in learning, it's because you learned in the right order. When you have a weakness in learning, it's because they are teaching you in the wrong order. That's it. Simple and easy. Hard and complex. Simple and complex. Simple means few steps. Complex means many steps. Easy means you're learning it in the right order. Hard means they have fucked up and they have not taught you in the right order. But instead of taking responsibility for their fucking incompetence, they blame you because teachers are narcissistic, but they don't know it. Teachers teach with a narcissistic teaching style. Truth, but they don't know it. Parents parent with a narcissistic teaching style, but they don't know it. They might not be a narcissist, but their parenting style is. The teacher might not be a narcissist, but their teaching style is. Our government is a narcissist, and it teaches its people how to parent, teach, and do all this bullshit narcissistically. It's completely embedded into our system. Neurodivergents are incompatible with narcissistic teaching methods. And that is all. Really fucking simple, right? It is, because it's fucking logical. And per Newton, in simplicity, there is truth. So, you need multiple subjects. If you are struggling with school, I recommend you learn more subjects on the side. That's a really solid tip. School was unbearable for me, so I fluffed my education. Actually, it wasn't unbearable because I fluffed my education. It was fucking god-awful. So while I was attending high school, I was also attending the ancient University of Alexandria. And when I finished my studies, this is the best part, I aligned them with what I was learning. Yeah. So this is something fun that I did, is I would work on Plato's work. I would do the psychological studies and I would do philosophical studies. And then it's all coming back to me now. I'm like, oh yeah, I did that. And then I would go to school and I would compare my philosophical studies with each and every subject. And then I would go to church and I would take notes and I would read the actual scriptures that dipshit was saying, and I could compare. And then afterwards, I would walk in to my pastor and I'd be like, we're going to have a talk because I'm reading the papers. And that's not what you said. So, and I did the same thing at school. I would read the history books and then they would tell me their opinion at school. And I would compare the information that I was given to the work of philosophy, Plato, Socrates, Aristotle. And I'd be like, interesting, really fucking interesting. I had a bunch of encyclopedia sets when I was a kid, like the World Encyclopedia set. And that is where I learned a lot of the shit, mythology, everything. And I would cross-reference everything. And then I would go to the library and I would pull reference books out of the library and then cross-reference everything. So I was able to learn philosophy side by side with the bullshit that was in the schools. And that allowed me to expand my brain and really build it up. I failed out of, not calculus, algebra 1 and 2. And so I decided to go to consumer math because I realized that I was lacking a lot of basic mathematics that I should not have been lacking due to their insufficient education. And instead of trying to push myself back into algebra 1 and algebra 2, I decided that it would be most logical if I took myself back to the basics and start over. So I did. And sure enough, I was able to locate all of the primary basics that was neglected in my earlier previous education system, which was provided by the Christian church. Yeah. So I was able to find and locate all of the gaps. My education was very gappy. And as a result, I had to compensate for all of the gaps in my education because it was that fucking incompetent, because ladder learning matters. When you understand how ladder learning works, you start to realize if it's easy, then you have sufficient solid foundation. If it's hard, you've missed something and you need to go back a level. But they are more concerned about keeping their jobs, following the curriculum, following the rules of their government. That's all using psychological manipulation to keep you in check. So as a result, they 4F you and throw you away, claiming that it's your problem so they can keep their job. You're not neurodivergent. Actually, you might be. Who gives a fuck? It's a label. The point is, you are my people. And there's really nothing wrong with you. You just are not given the resources to learn in the proper order. So right now I am studying physics and I am right back to square one where I am researching where I can learn physics. And the biggest problem I would not call this a problem. The biggest challenge that I face every time I am ready to start learning a subject is I have to figure out what I need to study and in what order. So right now I'm in physics and I'm going to do classic physics because that's where you start. So I have to make sure I'm in classic physics. Now I also have my own agenda. For instance, I'm not just looking to learn physics. My specific mastery is energy. It is in dimension theory. Oh, I had my notes somewhere here. I had like a whole list of what precisely I needed to study. And as I went through my physics studies, I was able to go, yep, I need this, because it ties into my psychology. And that's what I'm using. Like Euclidean geometry is a huge part of this. Electric energy, Tesla is going to be a huge, huge person in my repertoire. I'm going to be using a lot of Tesla. And let me see here. So this is pretty much it, is learning how to, oh, here it is, perfect. Oh, differential. That's what I need, is differential calculus and differential geometry. And I need optic physics and Euclidean space. So that is quite literally what I need. I'm going to bookmark this. So this is quite literally what I need. This is like one of those lists that I have that tells me, hey, this is the physics you need. So I know what to look for. So I know which direction to take my education when I go. Like, this is something I really, really need. So I need to find the path. And that's it, is you're looking for the educational path. Now, mapping out your own educational path is my forte. I've been doing this since I was 15 years old. Educational pathways. This is another entire science. This is another one of my really happy places. And this is where a bunch of dip fucks from the fourth perspective got together with a bunch of other dip fucks and tried to make a lot of decisions on what people should learn for what career. And they did it based on who was funding them for what. All of their decisions are due to a profit business-based government. And as a result, the motive became to make money. Not to educate you, not to help you, not to do anything, but to make money. So your education is 100% based off of how they can make the most money. You are stuck. You are a farmed animal. We all are. Not only are we a farmed animal, we are also in the slave market. There is an auction where they literally bid on us. This is what insurance companies do. They literally put people's profiles without them knowing into an auction room where insurance companies bid on you based off of your value to profit ratio, because you are a farm animal. Welcome to real life Soylent Green. Once you understand that all of our system is built off of this at its core, you start to realize just how deep this goes. The next stage under this is funding. And the funding is decided by insurance companies, patents, drug and pharmaceutical companies, religion, politicians, government bodies, research and development facilities, which are also determined by universities. Yeah. So you can see how this lovely little rat's nest all revolves around you having a social security number that is literally your farmed animal identification number that leads to the auction, which is where they bid on your value to profit ratio. Welcome to our system. Neurodivergents are 4F'd because you have no value to them. That's why it's hard. That's why you've been thrown away, because your feet are the wrong size for the shoe. So I am one of you. When I was choosing colleges, I had this moment in my life. It was 1995. The Clinton administration was going on, and I was trying to figure out where I wanted my education to go, and I had choices. Do I want to go to a university, or do I want to study Plato? And I loved Plato because I was into philosophy. And I found the University of Alexandria. Now, everything up to that point in my life had been consistent. I was huge with the arts. So was Plato. And then in 1995, they decided that art needed to be banned. So they cut all of the art departments. Now that is what I call an anomaly. And I went, the government just literally cut all of the art departments. Plato didn't do that. Plato had 9 art departments in his academia. Well, they don't match now. There's an inconsistency. And I went, okay, one of these peoples is right, and one of these peoples is wrong. Who is right? So I thought I would examine the evidence, and I asked the question, who is smarter, Plato or the United States government? Now, at that time, there was a whole lot of court cases about cum staying on a dress. And I went, interesting, interesting. So Plato gave us people like Aristotle and Socrates and, Plato's Republic. He was one of the key foundations of building the concept of Alexandria, the epicenter of the educational system of the entire ancient world. And the United States government was responsible for a cum staying on a dress. I decided that Plato was smarter than the United States government. And I decided that I was not going to go to school at the government-regulated universities or the government-funded universities. I decided that Plato was right. And I would go to school for Plato. So I went to the ancient Alexandria school. And I took the curriculum that I found from his academia, and I repeated it. So I had to, based off of the mapping educational pathway, I just followed Plato's curriculum. When I followed Plato's curriculum, there was one massive difference because I'm a neurodivergent. So I binge education. I become so focused and so fascinated over a single subject that I gorge myself on it because I'm a glutton when it comes to information until I have exhausted the subject. And I did this literally with all nine art forms. And then I studied physics, music theory. And then I studied geometry. And then I began my philosophical studies. But the very first thing they teach you in philosophy is the learning psychology. How to learn, how to teach, and logic. Then they continue the hierarchical studies all the way through. I am currently up to physics, calculus, geometry, trigonometry. And then from there, I'm going into the other sciences. Astronomy is the last one. I am very excited. So when you set an educational pathway, now I'm also a very firm believer that a neurodivergent is someone who is immune to the psychological suppression of the system. I'm going to say that again. A neurodivergent is immune, and you found a way to intact your imagination. I hypothesize, and I am very highly confident, that a neurodivergent can complete the mastery of Plato's curriculum within a couple decades. I'm certain of it. A couple decades. It has to be hierarchical, and I can give you the curriculum. It's really fucking cool. But I'm certain that a neurodivergent can breeze through it without a problem because you exist at a higher frequency. We all would if the government got out of our way. If our parents and teachers got out of our way, everyone would be neurodivergent. But their system is for dumb people, and you're not dumb. So, study how to learn, study how to teach, study art. Start with art. Start with art. Absolutely start with art. Because, and I will say once more, Information is currency that will just sit in your closed network like a swamp. You have to know how to have a network with emotional transactions so you can transfer it from point A to point B. Really fucking fascinating. But you can't do that if you don't know how to learn. Thank you so much for your audience, and may the kindest of words always find you.